your air guitar on the go for that
Wow.
one. I thought it's pretty good, isn't it?
That's
Hey?
great, 80s, man.
That's
that was
great.
the soundtrack to the ball hitting.
So yeah, until we get a proper theme tune, that's what you've got for that. But yeah, this is where we are with it, because this may be the streaming age. Of course, it is the modern hell. That is the streaming age, where the film that you've got your eye on, that you've got in your list, waiting to watch, you've had it there for a couple of months, and it just disappears into thin air. And there's that series as well that somebody told you about at work, and you've got it bookmarked, so you'll watch it when you finish watching the thing that you're watching now, and then that disappears as well. What's that about? And where's it gone? We're not impressed with any of that here.
Nope.
We're not impressed at all. Not least of all because we're Gen X, and generally speaking, we don't care. But it's also because we remember happier days. Most of us are still sort of semi-lodged in the age of the physical media, which apparently is on its way back one way or another. And it's a good job, really, because between all of us here, we've been hanging on to it and pulling it back from the brink as best we can. It's been somewhat of a team effort, but apparently the rest of the world is getting wise to it as well. So yeah, who's on the panel this time to go there? Well, we've got Mr. Gary Akers here, a hat for every occasion, and a very keen physical media advocate, enthusiast, and collector. We have our resident heretic, the rabbi from another planet. He loves his streaming. If you can get it on a hard drive, he'll go for that instead. So he's going to tell us why we're wrong, of course, despite the fact he's got loads of physical media behind him, so we can compare notes with the rabbi on that. Yeah, some of it is. Oh, you've got. I noticed you've got.
Graphic novels.
Who reads? Don't read. It's bad for your brain.
I shared a picture because I do get the impression I'm anti-physical media. This is my media shelf. I've consolidated a lot. This is my downsize a lot. My media shelf in my new apartment.
I would love to just browse through that shelf and see all your graphic novels. Rabbi.
Oh, I got some.
I say.
Is that your shelf, Dan?
That's mine.
Oh, that's yours.
So proof I actually like physical media. I'm not like super anti.
Oh, I love your Yellow Submarine figures. That's cool.
Oh well, yeah, I like
that. I see some Jodie Whittaker in there. I see
Starfleet
Academy. I see multiple different versions of Star Trek Discovery.
I see the Shooty Steelbook three shelves up.
Yeah, I know. He's got the biography. Dude, why do you have a whole section for everything Shooty Gatwa ever did?
Well,
right next to your Jodie Whittaker section.
Yeah, you need to fill up that 2 spots.
The best of Alex Kurtzman he's got over there.
Yeah, that's a quick DVD. That is. You can.
That's a clip.
Yeah, I got Red Dwarf at the top. It's all grouped thematically. Like the spies are all together.
Yeah, no, I do that.
Absolute heaven. There, absolute heaven.
Anyway, so just proof I do have physical media. I do like physical media.
With you in your new place, of course, and you found a home for it all. That's good to see. That's good to see. Whether it's Blu-ray, DVD, 4K, or VHS, but some people, VHS is on its way back as well. People are collecting VHS again. Apparently so. So whatever it is that you're into, that you're building up a collection of or rebuilding, the laser discs, 8-track, anything at all, we can talk about it here. Of course we can. And so the region system, even that is getting more simpler as time goes on. I still get caught out with this now and again with the Blu-rays. What's region A, B, or C? So I still have to be a little careful there. But of course, with the world of Ultra HD 4K, there's none of that. So there's no boundaries.
Unless it's Shout Factory.
Yeah, good point. But lately, it does seem to be that things are expanding. I mean, my local HMV looks something like this: walls and walls and racks and racks. And I can just sort of dive in again, just like I used to back in the day. I don't know what I thought the future would look like, Gary, but I didn't think it would look like this.
And whenever I see this picture, the only thing I can focus on is the bottom right corner, and there's section 31.
Dear me. But in all seriousness, it does seem to be that 4K is taking off in a way that Blu-ray never did. Partly because I suppose it's a collector's format, Chris. That's what people find in it. No, Chris has gone. Okay.
I think he went down to his basement.
It's the Section 31 memories that have hit him.
Yes.
In the early 80s, we thought the future, we thought 2029 was going to look like this. And you know, I suppose you could say we're not that far off. We've got handheld devices that communicate with computers. But
Well, that does look like one of my masturbatory fantasies. So yeah, you could say you're correct.
And we're of the generation, certainly I was telly-reared, Rabbi, telly-reared. So I was there sort of camped out in front of the telly as the video age came in. That was very much me, waiting to rent something once or twice a week from the rental store. And there was an explosion of culture in the 80s as well, which went sort of hand in hand with all that, I suppose. This was very much how I lived in the 80s. So it was all about Transformers and He-Man, that scene from the Terminator, and drinking far too much pop, canned drinks, that kind of thing.
He's got a nice action figure collection going on down there. That's worth a pretty penny.
Yeah.
He has, hasn't he? But this is very much how I got to where I am as a collector. You know, as soon as those VHS rental stores started to open up everywhere, and they got bigger and bigger, and the choice got wider and wider, you were spoilt for choice. Really, you could spend hours in there. And it got to the point though where I ended up renting the same things once or twice over. And so you think, well, I may as well have this at home, hadn't I? I may as well have it all at home. And that's how I kind of got into collecting, I suppose you could say. I mean, how did you get into collecting, Gary? Was it a similar thing, or were you?
You mean like for physical media, like VHS things? Well, when it started, I would only kind of collect the things I really wanted, like Star Trek movies, or a few of the and Chris has mentioned this before, the individual tapes of the original series that over here it came out like one episode per tape. They were like $14.95 a piece. Rentals, and then I didn't have a VHS machine, but the grocery store near me rented out machines. It was like $10 a night or whatever. So you could rent the machine and hook it up to your TV along with renting a tape, until I could afford to get an actual machine myself.
God, I can't imagine. Because we rented a VCR, but it was monthly, so it was permanently at the house.
Oh, okay.
And I think that the first shop had a stock of maybe about 30 or 40 films, and most of them were Warner Brothers, so you'd got a finite amount of choice. But I saw this on X the other day. We talk about the streaming platforms and how one studio is sort of swallowing up another. And I think a lot of people are coming around to the idea, in all seriousness, that streaming was sort of fun for a while. Now it's a bit of a ball ache, and people do want to go back. Not necessarily building a collection, because not everybody has the sort of collector's mentality, but people prefer to have it on their shelf. That way they know it's not going anywhere. I think that thinking is coming back.
I don't know. Look, I don't know anybody who doesn't prefer streaming. Honestly, I just don't know. I mean, normal people, right? Of the normies, I don't know any normie that doesn't prefer streaming.
If Blockbuster comes back, we'll know that we've truly turned a corner.
Well, that's true. That is true. I think the dawn of the physical media collecting was when they started with the $9.99 releases. In England, that's where I started. Doctor Who and Sherlock Holmes, the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes. Like that was my first collection. I think I bought this stuff 3 times now. I bought it on VHS. I bought it on DVD. Now I bought it on Blu-ray. Leave me alone with 4K. Really? I can see Sarah Sutton as much as I want to. It's all cool, baby.
You gotta change everything to 4K, Rabbi, because right when you get finished, then there'll be 8K.
The TV shows
the James Bond movies up to 32K, I believe.
The TV shows were a big part of it for me, but just like you said, Gary, it was the Star Trek movies, the Bond films. I wanted them uncut because I knew they were cut on the television. I'd watch them over and over again, particularly the Star Trek movies. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I'd made my own sleeve for that, Rabbi, which I illustrated.
I made my own sleeve for
there was that as well. But the affordability was what held me off. I mean, the first cassette that I ever had was brought for me by a family member, and it was this. It wasn't even sci-fi. It was this. When the sell-through market broke through, just as you said, Rabbi, this was £9.99, part of the video collection range, which I think you could only buy at Woolworths at the time.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You could just buy it in the one shop, and it was a simple 44-minute tape with a couple of Spider-Man cartoons on.
Oh, from the 60s. Yeah.
Well, one of them was from the 60s and one of them was from the 70s. So these were old cartoons. They weren't even new, Gary. But the novelty, because this stuff turned up on TV now and again, but you never really knew when it was going to be shown, if it was going to be shown. And so to have it sort of to hand, was incredible.
Am I a complete pathetic, sad fanboy for knowing that the art on the cover of this is taken from Amazing Spider-Man number 98 in 1971? He was fighting he was fighting the Green Goblin, and that was that wasn't the whole cover, but that's like a truncated part of the cover. I can't believe I know that.
That is impressive. That is impressive. Sadly, I sold my cassette of this. I'd love to buy it back. I've never seen it at a car boot sale either, but I would sort of like this. I told myself that this is where my physical media collection and collecting started. But the truth of the matter is that it was actually with these.
Oh, I loved those.
I had a pile of Viewmaster discs built up over a number of years of movies and TV shows and various niches. Everything from Knight Rider, which I didn't even watch Knight Rider, but I got the Viewmaster disc of it, and the Smurfs and all that, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and you'd load them into the top of this thing, and it was in 3D as well. So there was the novelty value of having the 3D pictures. It was incredible. And so, it was building up them, keeping them around in their own little folders, and then reliving. I think I had E.T. as well, Gary. So that was the closest I could get to reliving the film.
I loved those. They would have a lot of obscure TV shows and stuff. I remember getting a Scooby-Doo Viewmaster thing for one Christmas. I already had the Viewmaster, but it was like a Scooby-Doo pack. I remember that.
Because they've been making these since the 60s, hadn't they?
Oh, earlier than that, I think. They used to be metal. They weren't. This is like the red plastic, but they used to be the original versions were metal.
Were they really? I've seen them because they've got that kind of 60s aesthetic. They look like the grill from the front of an old Ford or something like that at the top. But this was mine, because I was anything 3D as well. I was into that. I was all about that. I'd snap it up, and I built up quite a collection of those. I've still got some of them in a shoebox somewhere. But once you could get sell-through video cassettes in the local high street, obviously these pictures moved.
Smith. I was there all the time. That's where I got a lot of my stuff from.
And before you know it, Rabbi, you've started to build up shelves and shelves of the things to the point of where I am now, where I can't move for them, Chris. I mean, is that how it was in Canada as well?
Well, yes, not everybody is like me. I have 2 rooms, organized rooms, but I have 2 rooms of physical media. My office near my computer. It's my Blu-rays and 4Ks. Then upstairs in a spare bedroom, I've got TV series, DVDs. So not everybody is insane like me. But I remember Dan, Rabbi, who remembers, I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but CED, capacitance electronic discs, the ones with the cartridge. RCA's failed format from 1981 to 1983.
I've seen them, but I didn't know what they were. So it's one of those things where I've seen pictures of them, but I couldn't work out how you played them, where they were. Media was.
It was physical media, literally on vinyl, except the record itself was a lot finer than your audio vinyl. They were terrible. They skipped. You could play it twice, and then your CD, your disc would be useless. It came in like a big cartridge. If you even breathed on the vinyl record, it wouldn't play. So you loaded the cartridge into the machine, then you had to take it out and you had to flip it.
I've never heard of that.
It's if you look it up online, there's a whole bunch of video. It was basically it was a flop, but a lot of people got them because it was cheap. Laserdisc was very expensive. CED flopped almost out of the gate, so you could get like
that format that you're talking about now. Didn't they bring out Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan on that?
For Star Trek, well, actually, yeah, it was part of the very first movie I ever got. My first piece of physical media was the Muppet movie for my 5th birthday on CED. But yes, they did have the only TV show that was ever released on these were specific episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series. There were 2 episodes per disc. So 6 of them came out, 12 episodes. I only had 3 of them. On one disc, it was Balance of Terror and Mirror Mirror. On the second one, it was Amok Time and Journey to Babel. And on the other one, it was The Changeling and Space Seed. And we eventually, after we got into VHS, my grandparents sold it over 30 years ago now, but they had a cottage. So we ended up just moving the CED disc there. Also, the first 3 movies were on there. Like pretty much any major movie from the late 70s to about 1985 was put on these. Every James Bond up to A View to a Kill was on there. The Pink Panther movies were on there. But by the time the mid 80s, it was a dead format, so you couldn't buy anymore. So we had this selection of movies that we could watch. We didn't really, you could sort of get one TV channel out there, but you were lucky. So we used to spend our summers out there again. So to this day, I have those 6 episodes of the original series memorized, cool. As well as the first 3 movies. But that's sort of where I started with physical media, and then eventually went on to beta. Never owned anything on beta. Back then, we would rent videos and record them onto another video, and we used to rent the second VCR and use our primary VCR to record things. Then VHS. Many movies I owned at least twice on VHS, then to DVD, then to Blu-ray, then to 4K. The only 2 major formats that I never collected, even though I always wanted to, Laserdisc, because it was just too expensive. And by the time I was going to start collecting Laserdisc, DVD had come out, so I just ended up going right to DVD. This was around 1998. And the only other one was HD DVD.
Chat. People are sharing their memories in the live chat as well, Chris. Vanessa says, my dad loved Laserdisc. The only thing I remember is a Rod Stewart concert. And we've got Mr. Matt, too, who says, I remembered going to W.H. Smith's in Birmingham for the first time and looking in the sci-fi section, being blown away by all the goodies in there, unlike the small town where I lived. Mr. Matt, you probably don't live that far from me. If you remember, there was 2 branches of Smith's in Birmingham. Particularly the bigger one, which was probably around this time when VHS was on 3 or 4 stories, and all the VHS was in the basement, and there was lots of nooks and crannies. So they'd got W.H. Smiths had got their own exclusive range of tapes, whereby they'd get their hands on things like the Quatermass Conclusion before it was on wide release and things like that. But in the larger branches, I mean, this picture is an illustration of one in a precinct, but the one in Birmingham was absolutely fucking huge. You could get lost in there. And they tended to get these exclusive releases. Like The Woman in Black, the original version of The Woman in Black that was made as the TV movie, the Susan Hill book that they turned into a film with Daniel Radcliffe about 15 years ago. That was a W.H. Smith exclusive, and they got piles and piles of them. So, yeah, it was a wonderful shop. Thanks for reminding me of that, Mr. Matt. Stephen Braddock says, I remember the UFO one and a Star Trek tape. Yeah, there weren't that many Star Trek tapes in Britain. I think I've said before, the ones they brought out here were the 4 episodes that the BBC had banned. So knowing that we couldn't see them on the TV, you could rent them on video. And that's how it was. And I had Portland Bill and Postman Pat. So loads of cartoons, because they knew, obviously, you could sell that stuff to parents to put it on for their kids, and the repetition is what the kids like, so they would watch the same thing over and over again. You could, if it was an automatic one, it would go to the end of the tape, rewind, and start playing again. Some of the later models, it was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it was the big one, says Matt. PD Rich started with VHS, then went on to DVD. I'm currently rebuying my favorites on Blu-ray, but that's how it goes. And
it was
moving cycles.
It was an interesting time when all these formats were kind of battling to establish themselves, because you had VHS versus beta, and then as Chris said, you had Laserdisc for a while. I remember there was a whole Laserdisc store, and everything was like in a battle royal for what would capture, the marketplace, until everything kind of got weaned down to VHS pretty much.
Laser discs, because them being physically larger, taking up more space as well, and the machines were far larger. They were a kind of a luxury item in a way.
Was mainly the price.
The video cassette recorder wasn't a luxury item really past a certain point. But just as things were starting to come down, and just as you said, Chris, I think there were a lot of people who attempted to start Laserdisc collections around the time the DVD kicked in, and you think, okay, because the DVD quality was probably something near to.
Yeah, it was actually, oddly, Dan, early, and this was a gripe. We're talking like the first generation DVDs from probably 97 and 98 until dual layered DVDs came out around early 99. That first batch of DVDs, the quality was actually terrible. And I think specifically, if you have any early Warner Brothers snapper case, those were probably the worst.
So I had the Matrix. That was bad. I used to love that.
Well, that was the argument against DVD when it came out, because the purists loved their Laserdisc, and you'd see them back to back.
I remember,
the Laserdisc, even though it was analog technology, looked significantly better than the DVD. But I remember going into we didn't have a Laserdisc store, but we had Sam the Record Man, Music World, and a few others, and they all had a Laserdisc section. I remember going to look at them and flipping through these discs, wishing I could have one, but the players were insanely expensive. I remember a Terminator 2 collection around 1993 that cost $300 in 1993 money, not adjusted for inflation. So that was the problem with Laserdisc. It was too expensive. DVD, the way they did it was a way that made more sense. The early DVD players were just as expensive as Laserdiscs.
And wasn't it the case, Chris, please correct me if I'm misremembering, that for Laserdisc, you put it on, and just like a record album, like halfway during the movie, you would have to pop it out and physically turn the disc over, or am I misremembering?
No, you had to turn the disc over, and you had to be, it wasn't as fragile as CED would have been, but there was sort of an art to flipping it because it's a record-sized disc. So you had to make sure you didn't get fingerprints on it and slide it over. But I remember that was sort of like and I remember they had Star Trek came out on Laserdisc, the original series. They had the same run in the 80s on Laserdisc. The same front covers of the transporter pad. The difference is you'd have 2 episodes per disc. Same thing with the Next Generation. Remember looking at those? I'm like,
I remember that.
Yeah,
I had that set.
It was like split down the middle, and one picture was on one side and one was on. I remember that.
Yeah, it was basically the VHS covers. Just they'd have 2 of them on there. But I'm sure we all remember going into video stores back in the 80s and early 90s. And there were a few different companies that made Laserdisc, but it's primarily just Pioneer. And I think Pioneer manufactured all of them the same way Beta was always Sony, but they licensed out the name to Toshiba and Hitachi. But for the most part, it was always Pioneer for Laserdisc. But I remember going into, you'd have your electronic stores, which really we don't have anymore. Or there are very few of them, but each city would have a few of them. You'd go in, they would always have that display. They'd have a Sony Trinitron, which was like the be all and end all. The massive 36, like $5,000, 36-inch, $5,000 Sony Trinitron playing Laserdisc. And we would just sit there just being blown away at the quality when you look at what we have now. Although, there are people that still collect Laserdisc, and I'm actually tempted just to get some of my favorite movies on Laserdisc, not to play, but just to sort of display
to admire. Yeah, Kevin Wrightsall, he's still a big Laserdisc guy, picks them up wherever he can. I used to allow myself, when I first had DVD, because I adapted to DVD gingerly at first. A friend of mine, I was working in the city at a graphic design agency, and we'd put together an installation for some sort of trade fair. And so some of the guys actually attended the trade fair afterwards to check it all out, that it had all gone in fine and all the graphics were where they were meant to be. And they came back, and it had been an expo for technology. And they said, "Oh, this DVD is launching." The one guy said to me, because he knew we were both big film fans and collectors, even though I had a tiny collection compared to what I got now, and he said to me, "Dan, I'm never buying another VHS tape ever again. You should see this." He says, "I'm going to get a DVD player as soon as I can." I think that was about 1997, 98, something like that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine it at the time, but of course he was absolutely right. And in next to no time, it was dominating. And so I bought myself a DVD player as soon as I could sort of afford one and justify one to my girlfriend, because I bought my own house at that point. And so I'd got to manage my finances. And so I had to sort of justify it. But so I used to buy one or two discs every 2 or 3 weeks and sort of gradually build up a collection. But my undoing was when I discovered this website, this particular place, play.com, where you could order them direct to your door through the internet for the first time, the very first online shopping I ever did. And
Wow.
I put in an order at play.com for 4 or 5 things. I mean, before you know it, you spent more money than you intended on.
Yeah.
But this is kind of how I built up my collection, where they were doing sort of 3 for £20 and all that kind of thing. And obviously, because at this point too, when I'd got very small children, myself and my partner at the time, we were in most nights. And so you think, well, should we rent something? Should we buy something? And well, we ended up building. That's how my collection really started to bloom. It was through getting stuff online, really.
Yeah.
I remember, if you're in Canada, I'm sure the coolest store was a now defunct store called Future Shop, which I actually used to work there. I was there for several years at a couple different locations, but that for DVD, starting in 1997, that became the destination. I can still remember going into the stores. You go in, the first, the whole center was usually just like all DVD and CDs. They actually phased out VHS very early. By 2001, VHS was completely gone. But you go in there and it was just rows and rows of DVDs. It was like a candy store. Of course, when I ended up working there with my staff discount, the amount of money I spent is obscene. But that was where I got my about a year. No, actually about 2 years before I started working there. I remember that's where I got my first DVD player. It's probably the most excited I ever was to make an electronics purchase. And I remember my first DVD player. It was a JVC. It was on sale for $399.99 Canadian. And back then, JVC was sort of one of the, in North America, the JVC was the company that invented VHS. So back then I was a JVC diehard. Every VCR I bought was JVC. So I got it. This thing was massive. Although it was the coolest unit I'd ever had. It must have been 25 pounds. Like, it was ginormous. And it had, like, the cool late 90s premium tech display, all the fancy buttons. And the first time I actually plugged it into my crappy little RCA TV, which would be replaced a month later, it just, like, the first DVD I ever put in my DVD player was, I had been collecting the Star Trek, the original series DVDs before I bought the players. They came out. So the first thing I ever put in my DVD player was Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pilot. And this is something that, I've been watching since I was a kid. So, I'd had it on the beta, I'd watched it on VHS. And I remember the first time putting that in, that scene with Spock and Kirk playing chess, like, my jaw dropped. I'm like, holy shit, this is incredible. Of course, that I didn't have that DVD player for very long, because the first one, 2 weeks later, the sound stopped working. So I had to return it, got a second JVC. Then that one, just everything stopped working 2 weeks later. Then I ended up getting a Panasonic player, which was much less fancy. But at least that one worked for 2 years before it kicked off and died. I usually every 2 years since then, every 2 years, I usually end up buying a new player because I usually have, multiple rooms, and I go through, I watch a movie a night, so I burn through my players very quickly. But I could do a whole show on the DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K UHD players I'm on. I'm already on my 4th 4K player, 2 of them that are currently running, and I guess 6 if you count game systems. So yeah, I thought I would never get on board. I thought I'd never get on board, Chris, with another format. But as we spoke about on the last version of this show, when we did a strand of these physical media shows, I've got a small collection of 4K Ultra HDs, and I'm buying them sparingly to justify it to myself. We've got Grange Rover in the live chat. He says 4K is incredible. It's a lot better quality than you get from compressed streaming, isn't it? Just, but this expansion of 4K and this renewal of interest and this collector's market has kind of reinvigorated my enthusiasm and sense of anticipation for new releases. And I have to, I've got you to thank for this, really, Chris, for telling me about Arrow Video.
Yes.
And how they put their various collections together every month, how they announce their releases, how they promote them, the titles that they choose. I think it's all absolutely fantastic. And it's got to the point now where I've sort of bookmarked their website and all their social medias. And this is the closest I can imagine to those days of trekking to that W.H. Smith, for example, that Mr. Matt was talking about on YouTube in the chat there, and feeling that sort of rush of excitement. What am I going to see? Or that thing that I know is out that's exclusive to Smiths. Have they got it? Because you couldn't reserve these things. I get that when it comes to Arrow and other labels too. There are other labels, but it's mainly them. So I thought that if we're going to sort of open up this strand and talk more about the kind of movies that are coming out on all these new formats, there's no better place really than to start with Arrow and to look at what they've coming out this month in April. And this is their list of these are their titles for this month. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sort of standard movies. I know they put out some box sets and things like that as well. And again, there's something for everyone here. And when I saw these in particular, this list, my eyes popped out because there are 2. You mentioned snapper cases earlier on, the Warner Brothers snapper cases. There's been 2 movies, Gary, that I've got 4 snappers left, just 4. I used to have about 50 or 60 of these things. Got 4 left.
Can I guess 2 of them from this list? I'm just going to guess. One of them has to be Inner Space, and the other is probably Soldier.
Yeah,
correct. Inner Space and Soldier.
There you go. I kind of have I have a little bit of track on Dan's taste.
2 awesome movies, like just 2.
Yeah.
You know what it was about DVD that won me over completely? I didn't get my first DVD player was like $70. It was cheap. It was. Yeah. I love the extras. I love the director's commentaries and things like that. That was the thing. That's what made me do. And also you could jump from track to track very easily. But I remember when I put the Matrix disc on, right, for the first time, and you saw the Warner Brothers logo, I was blown away by the quality of the picture.
That was
right. Now, anyway, Arrow Video. So what's on these releases?
Well, the first title that's coming is it is Soldier. So I can finally retire my
already pre-ordered. I should be getting it in a few weeks.
So now, when you say, Dan, explain retire, does that mean bin, or do you put them in a special? Do you keep them in a special place?
Sell.
Yeah, this will be sold. Yeah, I won't. Have I kept a couple of snappers? I've kept my snappers of the one of my favorite TV series of all time, V. The original miniseries and the
I
final
remember that
battle.
one.
I've kept those, but all the others have simply got to go. But yeah, I've been waiting for Soldier. Soldier has, to the best of my knowledge, never been re-released since the Snapper. Now, Inner Space has, but it's the same disc with no features. And Inner Space is one of my favorite movies of the 80s. I always knew that eventually somebody would go back to that and put together a decent stash of extras. And in this case, they have. First of all, we've got Soldier, starring Kurt Russell. Now, this, if you remember, Rabbi, this is meant to take place in the Blade Runner universe.
Right, I remember that.
The film came out in 1998. Did you like this one?
I didn't see it in the cinema. I saw it at home. It's a very VHS movie, right?
Yeah.
Who else was in it other than Kurt Russell?
Jason Scott Lee.
What?
Jason Scott Lee.
Oh, no. I thought Van Damme was in it or something. No, that was Predator, right? Yeah, look, it's a fun little movie, right? I think it was taken from a 2018 Future Shock or something like that, wasn't it?
Not that I know of, but I'm not a big 2018 guy. So if anybody knows if it was, then I'd be interested to know.
The only 2018 stuff I know is like what the stuff Grant Morrison did.
Wasn't Grant Morrison?
But I remember this film coming out.
It might have been a Future Shock, but it might have been a series. I really can't remember.
I remember this film coming out vividly, being very excited because it looked so much fun. It was directed by Paul Anderson. He went on to make those Resident Evil vampire movies, did he? Something like that. Some pretty schlocky stuff. But this starred Kurt Russell, Jason Scott Lee, Sean Pertwee's in this. So's Gary Busey, Connie Nielsen.
Sean Pertwee, that's what I remember from it. Yes.
Jason Isaacs is also in it, Rabbi. So it is quite the cast.
Yeah. Well, they got them on the cheap before they were big.
So I was thrilled to see this coming out. It, just as you said, Rabbi, I'm sure it is just a sort of typical people getting kicked in the head over and over and over again. But I saw it at the cinema, had a lot of fun with it.
It was a great performance. I remember, like, you saw the sadness in Kurt Russell's eyes in it as he's retired by a new model. Right?
Something like that. I haven't watched it in a long time because I've been waiting. I knew somebody would eventually pick it up for a re-release, so I've held back. Really pleased to see this one coming out. The next up is a movie.
What's on the discs?
Don't know.
Oh wow, really?
A ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Arrow.
All of these. Let's say that all of these have a ton of extras on as standard, don't they, Chris?
That's what Arrow has been known before, and I know you've I've said this before, but before Arrow, your premier physical media studio was Shout Factory and mainly Scream Factory, and that's a whole other story. They're basically done. They're just releasing their leftover scraps now. But the people that used to run Scream Factory now essentially run Arrow Video's acquisitions. It's a lot of the same people working on the extras that used to work on Scream Factory back in the day. But yeah, no, any Arrow release. And I should say Soldier and Inner Space are part of their deal with Warner Brothers, which has been ongoing for, I think, about a year and a half, where Warner and actually Vinegar Syndrome also has a deal with Warner, which we will be seeing the fruits of shortly. But yeah, basically selected films from Warner Brothers, like Demolition Man and so forth, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But basically, the best quality possible on any format. Yeah. From what I know, for the most part, the out of the studios, Warner Brothers. Your top in terms of quality, your top three. Number one is Arrow. Number two is Vinegar Syndrome. Number three is Warner Brothers, their own in-house releases. Most of these, the way they're done is the new scans are done by Warner. But Arrow Video's sort of secret, which puts them ahead of everyone else, is their encoding, which is a proprietary method, which I think they've actually patented. I know they will not let anybody else use it, but it's a combination of those two. Every Warner release is absolutely incredible. And usually it will, if you look at the back of any of these releases, you'll see a ton of extras, and they've got kind of sort of two strands of releases. Universal Soldiers.
In my view, there's simply too many to break down. Even on a show like this, we'd be here all night when we're talking about.
Oh yeah, it's like if you look at it, it's a paragraph of text. Soldier is part of their standard release collection, which is better than anybody else's premium release. But Inner Space is part of their premium collection. I've gotten most, but not all, that have been released in the past year, and we do pickups later. You'll be able to see a few of them. But their premium releases are really big, thick, hard case, chunky boxes. They come with the disc. They also come with a booklet, which are typically very well written. They're limited edition. Then eventually you'll just be able to get the disc. But every release I've seen with the Warner Arrow partnership, any one of them is in the running for best physical media release I've ever seen. It's a combination of Warner knowing what they're doing with scanning and Arrow, whatever the hell they're doing with encoding. It is absolutely incredible.
We've got some new names joining us in the live chat for this show, as obviously this is the first edition of this show. Terence Squires says, I still have many early VCDs, but also says, you guys are too mainstream for me. This is the first show, Terence, so stick around. Believe me.
I'm not sure what that means.
Terence, spoilers, if you look at my channel, I'm not exactly mainstream. I'm known as the angriest Canadian on YouTube.
Yes.
I've had hate campaigns run against me because I'm not very nice. This is, I don't know, would this be one of our more exciting, but also one of our more tame shows? Terrence, just stick around. One of these weeks, you'll end up with one of my rants where I will spend 10 minutes screaming into a microphone.
We did that every week for 10 weeks during Star Trek Starfleet.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't recovered from
I think he means in terms of specialist interest, but you can't, there's only we've got people watching who, a variety of different people, different levels of interest.
That's
and this is our first proper show doing this, Terence. So give us a break, for fuck's sake. PD Rich says the V collection versions are in proper DV cases, not snappers. Yours might be, mate, but mine are in snappers. They've been released 2 or 3 times.
They were re-released.
Yeah, the latest releases are in sort of Amaray cases, but mine are snappers. Again, one of the first releases I ever bought was the V release.
Actually, PD, what it is, it's the same disc in the mid 2000s. By around 2004, Warner got rid of the snapper cases because everybody hated them. So as soon as something went to pressing, they were re-released in the newer Amaray. Well, not the newer, but the better Amaray cases. Same disc, just different packaging.
My first disc I got with the Matrix was Mystery Men. Right, so that you know,
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, but also I remember the snapper cases with that.
I've still got my copy of Mystery Men, which was an Amaray case, because I think it was on I can't remember the label that was on. Was it Columbia, something like that? Can't quite remember. It always jolts me when Dan cusses, says Vanessa. Yes, the worst things I've got with franchises, the more I swear. We've got, so that's the first one, Soldier with Kurt Russell. That is released on April the 27th, so it's a lot later in the month. Coming before that, on April the 20th, is this film, The Eye. Now, I don't know what this is. I've never seen this.
Japanese horror.
Is it like The Ring?
Yeah, it's from J-horror. I think this was 2002. I'll look it up to get the exact year.
That's what it says in my notes. 2002. Yeah. This one, and apparently it's never been given anywhere near this lavish a release anywhere in the world. Obviously, though, even though it's an international title. No, I've never seen this one. Gary, I got so many of these kind of movies all came out around the same time that I kind of get them all mixed up. Apart from The Ring, I tend to go by whether I fancied the girl that was in it or not. So, for example, Sarah Michelle Gellar was in one. So obviously, I would watch that.
Oh no, she was in the American remake of The Ring, wasn't she?
No, The Grudge.
Okay, I knew it was like one of the remakes of the
Grudge, which was a remake of Ju-On, which we do not have a decent Region 1 release.
So she was capitalizing on the whole Buffy thing.
Yeah, came out right after Buffy, and think like 2 weeks after the season finale, from what I remember.
So the Eye is another film that I have never seen. There'll be plenty of these, particularly the international titles, because again, I'm not a big subtitle guy.
Well, Dan, actually, to one thing to Arrow's credit, basically this is how they really became popular, especially in North America. Is before they became sort of, I'll have to use the same word, mainstream in terms of larger studio releases with their deals through Warner and Universal. What they were up until about maybe 3-4 years ago, especially in North America, they would release a lot of niche stuff on Blu-ray. And they have a lot of Japanese horror and Japanese action movies in their back catalog. Including a lot of other foreign things. And what I like about what Arrow has done is rather than just completely ditch what they were known for, like another company who I shall not name by names did, they've kept these more obscure movies. They still come out because they do have a very dedicated following. And even though this will obviously sell nowhere near as much as Inner Space, which is probably going to be massive, or Ninja Turtles, they still, the amount of attention that goes into something like Inner Space will go into this. I have bought some of their more niche 4Ks, and it's, the same thing. Like, it could sell 10,000 copies, it could sell 100,000 copies. It doesn't matter. The same care goes into every one. Whereas another company that I will not mention would just put out crap and just, here, enjoy it, whatever. This is unwatchable. We don't care. Be glad you have it. Arrow has never, in terms of quality, they have never put out a bad release, at least not since they came to North America in 2015.
Inner Space is also out on April the 27th alongside Soldier, so that's going to be quite an expensive week for me.
I've already pre-ordered them. Order them on the site. And Dan, if you get them from Arrow, you also get points. And this is what I do.
Okay.
Because I don't get these from Amazon anymore. I now order directly from Arrow. And they're actually a great company to deal with. Whereas Scream Factory would pretty much yell at you if you had an issue. Literally, they were horrible. I had one disc lost in the mail. And then I emailed them like an hour later. They're like, "Oh, we are so sorry. Okay, new one's on the way. Don't worry." Like 20 minutes later, your replacement disc is shipped. I'm like, damn. Like, they're an amazing company to deal with. And the good thing about Arrow, and Vinegar Syndrome does this as well, they are cheaper generally than ordering elsewhere, but you also get points. So basically it works out to about $1 for every $10 you spend. So what I do is I hang on to my points. And when they do their Shocktober sale, which comes in October, I will cash in my points, and I will have a lot by that point. And I will probably get, probably 10 releases for free. So that's so great company. Order from them direct. And when they can, they will ship 2 weeks before release date, or usually at least a week, so you get it before. Great company to deal with. Even if Scream Factory did have their own shipping, after my last experience with them, I would have never ordered from them again anyway. But no, and if you're in Canada, another couple awesome things they do. One is, unlike everything else, they do the same thing Amazon does. You can pre-order from Arrow. They do not charge you until it's shipped, whereas everything else charges you right away. So there's that. Also, if you're in Canada, you don't pay duty or international tax, because what they've done specifically for Canadians is they have a presence in Canada. They actually have a Warner warehouse, or an Arrow Video warehouse in Etobicoke, part of Toronto. So you order from their American site. It ships from Canada, Canadian address. You're not paying any of the additional crap. So I could go on forever about what an amazing company this is.
I'm glad you told me about that, because I've ordered from Amazon in the past. I think I will order from Arrow themselves in future. Then if you can accrue some sort of credit with them, that sounds cool.
Their last deal, I got 3 Blu-rays for free.
That sounds really good. I can't wait to see this.
Like, how much is in Inner Space and Soldier?
It depends on the titles. That some of them, you can have either the 4K or the Blu-ray. So there are different prices at that point. But the standard editions, which come in those sort of hard cases, standard editions, which come in usual Amaray style cases. And then you've got the hard cases where they've got like posters and the booklets and all that kind of thing. So I think that the cheapest that they do is about 24 quid. And the most I've seen, some of them are like 44, 49 quid. Even
Well,
so
do the sales.
multiple films. They've got a sale on at the moment, as I understand it. But I can't wait. I can't wait on this. I've got to get Inner Space when that's out on April the 27th. Also on this list is something called Wandering Ginza Butterfly Collection from 1972. This is well out of my wheelhouse here, Chris. I've got no idea what this is. So it also includes two films, Wandering Ginza Butterfly and She Cat Gambler, which sounds brilliant. And I must say, this is every image that I found surrounding this, Gary, was very evocative. But yeah, this is the kind of thing which I would sample late night on Channel 4 or on cable TV or something like that. But I know there's a massive audience for this kind of title.
If I was browsing in a video store past the title that said She Cat Gambler, I would stop and look at it and see what.
I mean, yeah, I'll give that a look. I totally.
You'd usually, I mean, going back, you'd usually find it somewhere else, wouldn't you? It'd be behind the. Yeah, definitely. So that's Wandering Ginza Butterfly Collection with a beautiful, very colourful.
Yeah, look at that.
I will get that when it goes on sale. But yeah, to clarify, I have 3 of these pre-ordered. I have Soldier, Inner Space, and I got the Eye. Ginza Butterfly, I will probably get it at a sale because you have to have these movies are an acquired taste. I like them, but most people probably wouldn't.
That is, I mean, Arrow is so imaginative for a lot of their covers. I mean, that looks like an old like 60s Peter Max poster, with all the bright neon colors and everything. It's great. Very
different, very, very interesting. I'm a lot more interested in this vintage title. I say vintage, it's from 1975. It's called The Day of the Locust, and it's a drama set in the 1920s. Again, I've never heard of this film. It stars Donald Sutherland, amongst other various names, lots of actors you've seen in other things, and it's about the early days of Hollywood, and so it seems like a pot boiler drama, the various different people involved working at studios, and there's starlets and writers, and there's intrigue, and somebody's probably shagging somebody that they shouldn't be. But it just looks very sumptuous and very beautiful. I've never even heard of this movie. So it's good to come across films which I know are in my wheelhouse, which have somehow just fell through the cracks in the pavement, and see pictures like this and think, okay, it sells me on the atmosphere of a movie like this. I love the Robert Downey Jr. movie, Chaplin, for example. I love all that stuff. And the film what's the one where Ben Affleck plays George Reeve? Is it called Hollywood Land?
Autofocus. Is it Autofocus?
I think it's called Hollywood Land, but I could be wrong.
Yes.
Autofocus.
No, you're right. You're right.
With the guy from Hogan's Heroes.
Autofocus.
Oh, Bob Crane.
Bob Crane, that's the guy. Yeah. He played. What's the name of the guy who plays Bob Crane? Famous actor. Well, I haven't seen him for about 20 years, but it was really big for a little bit.
But it is Hollywood. When you said Hollywood Land, that struck a chord, Dan. So I think you're right on that title.
I think you're right. And this movie looks like something I kind of saw on like BBC Two on Channel 4 on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday. It feels like that sort of thing to me, right? It's probably a solid movie.
It's the kind of film that would have bored me to tears when I was a kid. It would have just sort of drifted past me. But now I would take the time to watch it. I'd make time for it and probably really enjoy it. A movie that's also on this list, again out on April the 20th alongside The Eye, is I have seen this. Is The Killer, an early John Woo movie.
Oh, I've seen this. This is good.
You've seen this one, Rabbi? Have you seen it did you see it back in the day, or have you seen it since?
I saw it in the 2000s, I think. But I remember saying, no, it was in the 90s. It was before. It was a long time. It was like a post Tarantino movie, as I recall, where people wanted more violent movies, and this got shipped to America. This is one where the first. I was definitely in Rabbinical Seminary. I remember going to Tower Video, who were Blockbusters. I lied, and we rented it. I had made a deal with the beginners program in my rabbinical ceremony that I would pay for half the TV and video as long as I can use it at night. All right, when when they're not using it. And this is what we had many movie nights, and this was one of the movies we rented.
The Killer. Are you seeing this one, Chris? This looks like it's right up your street.
Many years ago, yeah. This one I probably won't get for a while because it's a UK release, but 4K, so it will be region unlocked. These usually eventually show up on Amazon, and I wait for the prices to go down. I will probably eventually get this when just the standard release comes out, because the problem is the chunky box cases, because they're limited, especially from Canada. If I'm importing them from Amazon Marketplace, it's like $100. So this is one that I will get eventually.
Mr. Matt says here on YouTube, I love the quirky packaging. Forgot the label, but 3 coffin-shaped box sets, £20 each, of British horror films. Tegan, they had 5 films in each box. Beautiful art too. I thought you meant the quality packaging of these. Now you're talking about a different range and a different time, but I think that Arrow do lots of sort of hard boxes and things like that. But I get the impression that a lot of modern boxes they're steering away from kind of novelty shapes and sizes, because collectors can't store those things anymore. They were the bane of my collection. I mean, I had a Total Recall DVD, which was an American import, Gary, and the film itself was on 3 discs, I think, and it sat inside a tin, like a biscuit tin.
I remember that one.
Metal, and it was of Mars, and it would rest in a card cup, which was, to be fair, in this, it was the depth of it was the depth of a DVD. But it would always fall off the top. And I got a similar one on the same label, which was for Basic Instinct, which was made to look like a block of ice.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Miniature ice picker. I sold all this stuff years ago.
Yeah,
I
mean, it sounds kind of like ephemera, but sometimes it's like there's only always one that you kind of wish you had. Like for me, I'll toss out another Apes reference. Remember when they released like the original like 5 Apes movies, but they all came in a big ape head?
Yes.
As like the big, I so wish I had that.
It was
Anybody
huge. It was
remember the Terminator 2 release that had to be recalled because it was made out of pure metal, and people were slicing their hands open while trying to take the shrink wrap off?
Oh my gosh.
People were licking it and getting lead poisoning.
That's funny.
Yes, a good assortment of titles. So I thought that as this strand and this show continues, we can look at what the various labels are doing in any given month, dig into some classic movies and TV shows and anything else from all over the world, kind of educate ourselves and one another about the films themselves and the things that are going to be on the discs. And what we want from you is you let us know which titles you're looking for the most, which titles you want to be announced to be released yet, either from Arrow or any of the competition. And we can keep watch together, can't we? Whether they turn up or not. The more obscure, the better, from anywhere in the world. And whether it's mainstream or not. Trevor, was it Trevor? Mainstream or not, we're interested in everything and anything. There's no niche that's going to blow our minds or blow our circuits here at Physical Media Nights. Made of sterner stuff than that, aren't we? Thank you for the comments, everybody. We've got Classic says not Z3PO, so I'm not sure which title. Maybe he means all of them. Vanessa says, I'm into spy movies. I love Mission Impossible, the original series. That's finally available in Britain, but you couldn't get it for a long time. Stephen Braddock is still watching his Thunderbird set. I know he bought that a few months ago, having a lot of fun with that. Yeah, we've got Oohs and Ahs. Oohs and Ahs in the live chat too. Grange Rover is a fan of BFI releases. Yeah, there's several out on that label that I want to get. I've got some, but they've put out a couple of curiosities from the 1960s, which I'd really like. So I'm waiting for a sale on those, though. I think they're a bit expensive. I've got Rita, Sue and Bob too on the BFI label. That says something about my taste. An uncut version of House of Dark Shadows would be good. Yeah, that was made about 1971. The Dan Curtis.
Yeah, that was one of the 2 movies made right around the time that the series ended.
the first one was a kind of remake of the first 3 or 4 episodes of Dark Shadows, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So, but they
Yeah.
incorporated Barnabas
Anybody
Collins into that.
Both of them did. Well, one of them focused on Barnabas. The other had the guy who was the werewolf.
I had no idea
David,
they made movies of that.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
they
think the show was kind of dying. The show was kind of dying, and I think they brought these out just to kind of like one last capitalization on it.
One last hurrah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
We've got Rose Kirby says, I just wonder what to get once I'm in my new flat and get all my boxes out of storage. That's in some ways that sounds like a nightmare, but the rabbi's just been through a big move.
I'm loving it. I am
enjoyed it.
I'm in a very good place in life right now. I'm really enjoying like unpacking. I downsized a lot, but you know, so now I got the stuff that I want people to see me having. I got like one section from my Doctor Who DVDs, and I showed earlier the picture earlier of my stuff, and it's I like starting over is kind of fun.
Awesome.
Doing it with some money, also helps. So don't get me wrong, but
And you're above ground now. We're not. You're not streaming from a bunker anymore.
Exactly. And now there's no war. I don't have to get in trouble for not going to bomb shelter.
He's above ground now, everybody. The rabbi's
Yes.
at altitude.
Lock up your daughters. Who knows what's going to happen?
I say you are watching our inaugural.
Yes.
Inaugural. I can't say that word. Blimey. What a
Inaugural.
It's funny to get to my age and find out there are words you can't say. Inaugural. No, I can't say.
Dan, say aluminum.
This is our
Aluminium.
premiere edition
Aluminium.
of Physical Media
Aluminium.
Aluminum.
on the Facebook channel. So if you're enjoying it so far, let us know. Let us know what you'd like to hear us talk more about. Whether it is, there's nothing wrong with the mainstream, Trevor. Whether it's the mainstream titles that we all look forward to, of the movies that everybody knows and goes back to time and time again, or whether you found a little niche, a seam of gold to tap into and to mine for hours of entertainment, the features themselves, or the special features that go along with them. Tip us off as to some of the best kept secrets in physical media. We're all ears for all of that as well. Yeah, this is where it all started for me. An obliging young woman staring back at me over the desk at the local video rental shop. I'll be honest with you, it wasn't quite like that at my local, but I'd like to think it was.
I worked at my local one. Okay, that's what it looked like.
I forget you worked at a video shop, Rabbi.
I did. I worked at several. Double Vision. We had the thing where we rented videos for it was DVDs or videos. Like must be videos. We rented videos for 7 days instead of like overnight.
Oh wow!
And they were all slightly older, crappier ones, but it was good. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there. That's where I first saw that 1980s Captain America when they released that on VHS.
Oh, with Reb Brown.
I can't remember. It was a
That was
pretty
Reb
good
Brown.
one. Though. And I think I saw the Flash pilot in there as well from 1990, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a good
John
series.
Lewis,
I have that.
Yeah, that was actually that was.
It
one
was
of
a
the
good
best
series.
experiences
That was the one that they were really trying to capitalize on Batman the year before.
That starred
People
Dawson's
look at
dad.
It did. Let's have a quick break and get back to you with some of our recent picks, things we've been watching, things we've been buying. So stay where you are, and we'll wet our whistles and be back in a moment. Continue, yes or no? That is the eternal question for us, of course it is. Shall we continue? We're going to press on and we're going to compare our recent purchases and viewing experiences with you there in the live chat. Chris has sent along some of the things that he's been sampling, things he can't wait to watch. And Gary and I think we've got some picks. And maybe the Rabbi has everything to hand too in the various shelves around his new abode. And who knows which format it could be on anything. It could be some of those VCDs that we were talking about earlier on, or laser discs maybe. Wait and see. And as for the kind of things we're going to bring out, well, there's going to be something for everybody. And
I literally just threw out my VCDs, like literally on Friday.
You got some as well?
I did until Friday. I threw them out.
There you go.
They were bootleg ones I made from by myself. Nobody panicked, but I did very nice covers for them.
Classic Rabbi artwork, one of one. Bespoke items.
Yes, if you go rummaging down the garbage bins of Ginot Shamron, you may be in for a surprise.
Well, the first thing I wanted to tell you about, actually, I'm glad that you're here, Rabbi, because I wanted to know your opinion about this. This is a recent Blu-ray that I watched. The last movie I watched, in fact, was this one, Last Night in Soho. This is
I haven't seen it. I already want to. Right,
great movie.
Well, I'm just going to download it or watch it on streaming. I'm not going to.
No, you're
Is that
gonna get it on 4K.
is that Matt? That's Matt Smith, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
This is Matt Smith, Anna
Is it
Taylor-Joy, Diana
It is
Rigg.
great.
Well, I thought it was fantastic, but Chris, this wasn't the film that I thought it was going to be. I was expecting some sort of 1960s kind of run around with lots of funky music and gangsters and things like that. I had no idea. This is kind of like a horror movie, a ghost movie.
Really?
It's incredibly grim and nasty. Wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting singing and dancing and gambling.
Well, that's not bad.
I suppose it has got some of that. This, not the film I was expecting at all, but my God, Edgar Wright back on form for this. I know he's made one more since The Running Man's come out now, so this wasn't his last movie. But yeah, I had a great time watching this, even if it's not often I get chilled by a film now, but I did find this genuinely chilling. Even if I did I sort of worked out what was going to happen by the end, but it didn't rob any of the fun of the movie from me at all. I thought it was a fantastic film, and yeah, I'm still a big fan of Edgar Wright.
I reckon,
so that's my first
if
one.
you have the 4K is basically reference quality. If anybody is interested in checking that out,
Well,
it looks.
I sort of wish I'd have
amazing.
bought
What does
4K
reference
now.
quality mean?
Basically, reference quality. You call it maybe premium quality. Okay,
Right.
so you know how when you go into a video store and they're always playing specific movies.
Oh, right, and they all
basically it will take full advantage of the audio and video capabilities of your system. Like The Dark Knight was the first reference quality Blu-ray, just for example. So your best premium quality.
Did it make what's her name? Gyllenhaal? Maggie Gyllenhaal. Did it make her less weird?
No.
Never mind. Don't want it. Don't care then.
Rose Kirby's asking, would you ever do what's new on Blu-ray, DVD, 4K on a Saturday night? Well, we've sort of just done that with the Arrow releases.
Yeah.
This is that show. Yes.
yeah, we'll have that as a feature.
I have one new release that's going to make Rabbi very happy.
Oh, okay.
Another Blu-ray I bought, which again, I wasn't sure, should I buy this on 4K or should I buy it on Blu-ray? In the end, I'm glad I got it on Blu-ray because my player upscaled it very nicely. And the film wasn't quite as good as I was expecting, but I still had quite a lot of fun with Karate Kid Legends with Jackie Chan.
I still haven't
and
seen that.
Ralph Macchio and the other one from Dawson's Creek, the bloke out of Fringe, Jeremy, what's his name?
Jackson.
I can't remember his name. It is Jeremy Jackson. So
right.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the last couple of seasons on Cobra Kai. That puts you in context.
Yeah, you do need to see that. You do sort of, because only one character from that appears in this, but you do kind of need to see it. But it's a good movie. It's a solid film. The action's fantastic, and it breezes along. I think it's far better than the Jackie Chan one from 20 years ago, but it wasn't quite as punchy, I think, as I was expecting. And there's not enough Ralph Macchio in it. Fortunately, Jackie Chan is in it quite a lot, though, and he's superb. And the young star as well, he's really good. When he could have been very irritating, he was actually really, really good. So have you seen this one yet, Gary? Have you caught this? Karate Kid?
I have not, because I haven't finished Cobra Kai yet, so I'm trying to watch them in order.
Get stuck into that. Yeah, it's quite a lean film, only about 100 minutes. Very, very easy watch. And the choreography is really good. And they even addressed that whole sticking point about, well, it wasn't really karate, it's sort of kung fu. They even answer that question in this movie for all the martial arts bores out there. That's it's taken care of. So you should be happy. We've got some comments as well. Yeah, people like the singing and the dancing in last night in Soho. And another Blu-ray that I picked up, this is sort of a vintage title. So it's 1998, is that vintage?
Yeah.
Because that was when the Thomas Crown Affair with Pierce
Last
Brosnan.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Oh yeah.
That's
I
really
loved
good.
this. I saw this at the cinema. I bought it on VHS, then I bought it on DVD, and I saw this was in the sale. It was only £8 on Blu-ray. My God, did I have a good time watching this again.
Was that the one where they stole a painting and they had everybody dressed the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Pierce Brosnan was
great in
perfect
it
for
as well.
that
He was
role.
perfect.
He intended on making sequels to this, and they never came together in the end. I don't know why that was. But even Rene Russo's good in this, and I don't usually like her, but it's just as good as I remembered it being. You know, when you haven't seen a film for 15 years or so, and you think, oh, well, times have changed, it might not hold my attention.
Yeah.
It really did. Absolutely brilliant. And Pierce Brosnan, in particular, just right on the cusp. I think that, again, I always loved him as James Bond. I like him in most things, but this is really, really good. It's from 88 films.
He's incredibly watchable. So he was in that like twee Netflix movie. The was it Home Counties mystery? Like
oh, you mean the Thursday Murder Club?
Yeah, that's the one. And he was great. Whenever I see him in anything, I'm always I'm like, why won't they make old James Bond with him? Like that would really work. Amazon, that would really work. Okay, everybody would love to see that movie. Everyone likes to see Pierce Brosnan's James Bond when he's old, right? That's an interesting idea. Please do that.
Vanessa says, I love that movie. She means the Thomas Crown Affair. Plus, it has boobs. Not that I care. Oh, I care. Believe me, I care.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And I also wanted to mention this too, because I said all formats. So I have here my VHS tape of Switching Channels here, a comedy film. Switching Channels.
I like that one.
So again, it's there we are. So I've had this for years. I love this film. Made me laugh like a drain when I was a kid. Christopher Reeve and Burt Reynolds, now both dearly departed, with Kathleen Turner. Silly comedy film, lasts about an hour and 40 minutes, but there's some genuine laugh out moments in this. Now, I was of the belief that you couldn't get this on DVD until my brother found it at a car boot sale, but it's on the Rank label, which is a splinter off from the ITV label, really dirt cheap DVD label in Britain. And my brother's copy, it's in 4:3. So I thought, well, I'm not going to hunt down a copy of that. I'll wait until it comes out in some sort of proper edition. So I'd got a download of this. I was able to watch it and stream it in its proper form. But again, still a fun film. Burt Reynolds in particular, playing a slightly older character than he usually would. He was playing close to his actual age. I think he was about 50 at the time. We usually played a bit younger, didn't he? But he's brilliant in this. And Christopher Reeve, cast against type, getting roughed up by this female security guard, like getting beaten up and stuff. Really good, fun film. This is one. It's on the Warner Brothers cassette label, but it's also got the Rank logo at the bottom as well, so that accounts for why it turned up on Rank. Still no proper bells and whistles release for this, but this is a film that I'll be looking out for because it was just as funny as I remembered it being. So if
it's coming out on Blu-ray,
somebody else gets it, not that I know of, but this is an example. Again, this is an example of a film that I'm looking for. I'll be just in the same way I was for Soldier and for Inner Space. I'll be looking for a re-release of this with one of those boutique labels.
I got to say,
you guys ever hear?
I really like that film. I'm a huge Burt Reynolds fan anyway, and when he's in comedy, he generally really shines. That movie is a remake of His Girl Friday with Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, where she's the reporter and he's the editor. They updated it to cable news, but basically, Burt Reynolds is playing the Cary Grant role. Kathleen Turner's playing the Rosalind Russell role, and Christopher Reeve is in the Ralph Bellamy role. So that's that was the inspiration for that movie.
Well, it's such a weird film. I'd say the last quarter to a third of it changes location to an office block, and it felt quite stagey. People going in and out of in one door and out of another, people hiding in bits of furniture and all that kind of thing. And I thought it felt a bit stagey. And I went and looked it up on Wikipedia, and I found out that originally they'd made it as a film before, but it was also a stage play. I think very first it was a stage play. That accounts for all the running around, all the hijinks. It just had that element of farce about it, but it doesn't spoil that movie. Switching channels is still a fun watch. More people joining us in the live chat here, including a privacy seeker. There, good luck with that one. If you live in Britain, you've got no chance.
I was going to say, at least he's in the States. Well, she's in the States.
Yeah, there's the label's full of rankers. There's PD Rich. Not quite sure what he means. And
I think it might be merchant bankers.
Privacy Seeker had asked, "What's a car boot? Is that a garage?" No, a car boot is a sale, like a yard sale, I suppose you might call it, or a flea market.
Flea market. That's the American equivalent.
Yeah, there we are. So that's what I've been watching. What I've been watching lately. We've got some from Chris as well. This is a clue as to where we're going with you, isn't it, Chris? So the green sword sort of says a certain amount. So you've sent some pictures along. I don't know if these are films you've watched or films you've bought, but somewhat.
That's actually a picture of Chris in his basement right now.
Yeah. That was me on Wednesday.
So this is the first one, isn't it? So you've picked up the Arrow release of Excalibur.
Yes, 4K, watched it, looks stellar. Had not seen this movie in decades. So recommended.
1981 this came out, and there's several different versions.
DVD, actually.
It is fantastic.
John Borman.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
There are several different versions of this. There was one for television, one that was theatrical, because some of it is really rather explicit and quite challenging to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, there are naughty bits and yucky bits in it, which make it all the more fun.
Do you get the choice in this release which version you watch? Are they all in there?
This one I watched the super version with the other ones. I can't remember offhand. I don't have it in front of me. I think there's an alternate version as well. I think.
What does that have, Chris? That's different from, because I only saw this once in the theater. What does the alternate version have?
Oh no, it's the extended cut with a bunch of naughty things that were removed from the theater, depending on where you watched it. It is a very long movie, but it's I love the you had a lot of these. Well, this isn't a fantasy, I guess. What would we call this? Based on legend, but legend fantasy type movies from the early 1980s. Sort of Conan would be in that group as well. I love my fantasy epics with the blood and gore. Although this one, they tried to include the entire legend of King Arthur, and a lot is sort of rammed into a 3-hour movie, so it does move through time frames very quickly, which you might find that a bit jarring because the legend itself is a very, very long story. They tried jamming all of it into a single movie, which is one potential issue with this one. So it does kind of jump time frames all over the place, but it is a fun watch. It is very dark in places, and it's got early 1980s fantasy all over it.
I have to be in the right mood to watch a film like this, Gary. It's so distinctive.
Yeah, you're right. When I first went to see this, I wasn't really up on my Arthuriana, and I thought, based on the poster, that this was like a fantasy film, which there's some elements of that, but it's not like the kind of fantasy film I was expecting. I couldn't figure out what was going on for like half the movie.
You have to pay attention, and you do not want to show it to young kids. E.T., this is not.
Yeah.
And yes,
I almost think that as gorgeous as that poster art is, it was not right for this movie. It gave you an idea that the movie was one type of movie that it wasn't.
I think when when we look back to 1981, and Rabbi, we've spoken about this before, between 81 and 83, just before like the summer blockbuster thing really kicked in, there's a lot of these movies like around the Blade Runner time, which had that look.
Kroll.
You're right,
Remember
Gary.
that one? Was it Kroll? I think it was Kroll.
Yes,
But they were kind of, that's what I mean. They were kind of marketed, not necessarily at a family audience, but they were kind of riding a particular wave. And yeah, Gary, I think you're right. I think this one does stand out as being just more adult, denser, harder to pin down. And so you could quite easily rent this, assuming it was going to be similar to sort of Krull or a Ray Harryhausen movie, and High Adventure, where it's not. It's quite.
I honestly, Dan, that's why I love this movie, right? Because I compare this to something like Beastmaster, which is a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but like this is like reading an Alan Moore comic in the 80s as opposed to reading a normal comic, right? It's so layered and interesting, and all the characters have very believable motivations, and it brought the Arthurian legend. For me, it brought it to life, like in a very very genuine, like in a way that I really like, because again, it was just so layered and complex. I love Merlin. I loved his relationships with Morgaine, and I love the whole thing. I really genuinely love this movie.
There's a lot going on in it. I saw it first when I was very, very young, and it was the uncut version as well. I was, how old would I have been? Maybe about 11 or 12. So I found
it. Young for that.
I was younger than that.
You're too young for that. That's a
really
16-year-old movie.
Very full on. And I didn't really know what I was looking at, but I knew that it was seedy. If you know, I certainly knew that it was explicit. I wasn't entirely sure what was going on some of the time, but it didn't scare me, but it did stay in my memory and play on my mind a little. Another film that stayed with me that I've also found a little bit impenetrable is your next choice, Chris. I'm interested to know what you've got to say about Leaving Las Vegas, because this was a really popular film.
I hadn't seen this in a while because it's been out of print for years. I forgot how dark and depressing this movie was, and this is not going to leave you feeling happy when you're done. And unfortunately, part of this was the only thing I bought from Scream or Shout Factory in the last 6 months. The transfer is okay. Extras, there's none to be heard of. This is a very low effort release. They're just like clearing out the last of the stuff now, because the part where they were like, the kings of physical media, that is so far behind now, it's laughable. Right. But the movie, if you want to be thoroughly depressed, I would recommend this. It does not have warm and fuzzies. Brilliantly shot though, and Nicolas Cage, and actually he won. He won awards for this back when awards actually counted.
I know this won an Oscar. Somebody won an Oscar for this. And when I saw it, I found it incredibly depressing. And I did get through to the end, but I've never gone back to it since. I've often wondered if I should, because I like Nicolas Cage now more than I did then. I've lived a little more since then too. So I've had lots of peaks and valleys in my life. So I think, well, maybe I'd appreciate this a little bit more. I mean, would you think, should I go back to it, Chris?
You're basically watching a person self-destruct for 2 hours. It is a brilliant movie. I would say one of the best movies of the 90s. But it's like Nicolas Cage's more recent movie called Pig, which absolutely destroyed me, and I will never watch it again. But it's that might be his most brilliant movie ever made. It's kind of in that where it's a movie that I will probably watch again, but it will be a very long time. But if you're expecting a premiere release, no. Shout Factory with this release proves that they couldn't give a shit what they're doing anymore. And so this is the only release I've gotten from that company in the last 6 months. I have nothing pre-ordered. I really don't care. So they are now the antithesis of Arrow Video. Although with brands, you'll see a certain theme towards Arrow Video. So worth watching. Get it on sale. but do not watch this if you're depressed, because you will want to jump in front of a car by the time you're done.
That should be the pull quote on the cover.
Yeah, a mixed bag, somewhat of a mixed bag, I think. This is one that I meant to pick up and I haven't. Westworld.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that's released.
Yep.
The original. Oh, that's great.
From 1973 from Arrow Video. Absolutely amazing release. This is Michael Crichton's original.
Yeah.
I love this movie. It's also about as 1973 as you get, both with that early 70s future aesthetic, which I love, and you have Western aesthetics mixed in at the same time.
Yeah.
And this is much better than that TV show starring that line.
I strongly disagree. Strongly.
Rabbi, I hate that series for somebody who's in it.
It is fantastic. It's one of my all-time favorite shows.
There is a horrible human being whose name I will not even mention on that show, and because of that, I cannot watch it. So to me, it doesn't exist. If you want, there was a sequel to this, which is Future World.
Oh, stay well away from that.
Stay away from Beyond Westworld, the TV show they did. That was awful.
I've never seen. I've seen Beyond Westworld because that used to be on cable TV as well. They only made about 9 episodes of it, but I've never seen Future World. I've always wanted to.
It's I would
strongly recommend against it.
I have it. It's how shall I put this? It's not all it could have been.
I'll describe Future World in one word, Dan. Cash grab. Is that one word or two?
I haven't seen. I saw this film again. My stepdad was a massive Westerns fan. In particular, anybody involved with the Magnificent Seven and that kind of brand of film. He was a huge Yul Brynner fan, and so we watched this again when I was a kid. Didn't really understand what I was seeing. I've seen it once or twice since, but not for a long, long time. So I told myself I need to get this because I haven't got it on DVD. I've never owned this ever. So now that I know that it's out, I'm going to have to make the time to go and get it and to spend some time with it. Because that time now, those sci-fi movies made between 71 and 76, that run up to Star Wars, Chris, that's the time period I'm starting to get more and more interested in.
Yep. And with movies like this, with Arrow, with the quality of the transfers, it's literally like you're watching a movie screen. If you haven't seen any of these Arrow Warner releases, especially the older ones, they are worth getting. Just your TV screen, if you're watching the 4K, not the Blu-ray, but your TV screen literally looks like a movie projection from like back when movies didn't suck.
The gunslinger is terrifying, says Matthew Pounder. And we've got some fans of the TV version in the live chat as well, like Lord.
I would if not for a certain actress, but I have nothing but contempt for this actress, and I will not support.
Well, I will say, as Archer Collins said in the chat, that Beyond Westworld had Connie Selica, and you can't. Nothing's irredeemable.
That is true.
Nothing's irredeemable if Connie Selica's in it. But the thing about Westworld, Dan, you were talking about the early 70s. I would say, anything from maybe 70. I would extend it back 1 year to 70 to 76 because you get movies like that Colossus, the Forbin Project, which is a great sci-fi movie.
I've never seen that either.
A lot of science fiction movies in this period are very dystopian, but that was where we're going, and then it kind of wrapped up the year before Star Wars came out with Logan's Run, which is also dystopian. But Westworld, the thing about Westworld, when I think of Chris, I'm so glad you picked this. The filmmakers in the early 70s knew what they wanted to say. They went in and said it and got out. Like Westworld is not even 90 minutes. And now you have all these guys who don't even know the definition of editing. We get all these bloated 2-hour, 45-minute epics, which can be cut by an hour. This one is lean and mean, like so much of the 70s, like sci-fi movies, because they knew how to do it right.
It is graphic, like extremely graphic, but it's awesome.
Well, wait a minute. Without giving spoilers, what are you referring to?
I'm talking about the aftermath of the robots doing bad things.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, but it's not like not like graphic like
there's quite,
some of your
quite a lot
horror
of sex
movies.
in it, as I remember. And
Matthew's
I
asking
do
if
remember
this is
those as well.
available on Blu-ray as well, and yet
Yes,
most
it
of
is.
these, they're available on either Blu-ray or 4K. You've got a choice, 2 different releases with various
And
choice
the
mixtures.
studio and the original Warner release on Blu-ray is still around, and you can usually get it dirt cheap.
Yeah.
All right.
This
But
is one of
that,
these.
like before you move on, I'm going to have to go in a minute. Can I just tell everybody my path, right, to how I ended up loving the Westworld TV show? Because like everybody else, like the first season was great, second season was woke shit, and I watched the third season out of curiosity, and it was actually quite good. And the fourth season was so good, it made me go back and watch it all again. Second season was not woke shit. I know a lot of people think it is. It was the cultural zeitgeist at the time. That it had a lot of woke tropes in it, but it really wasn't. The first and second season are linked together to be one story, and all the woke people thought were woke in the second season really weren't. It's actually part of the story that was set up in the first season. Season 3 is phenomenal, right? Season 3 is mind-blowing. These are slow burn shows, like slow burn shows.
Give me an edit that removes and replaces that actress, and I'll watch it.
She's in every frame. Are you talking
Well,
about?
then I don't
Jason
want to
Leigh?
watch it.
Which one are you talking about? Jennifer Jason Leigh or the other one?
No, Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's in virtually every frame of it. I
know that's why I won't watch it.
Separate the art from the artist.
4 seasons, Rabbi.
Right, and season 4 is
Gotcha.
breathtaking. Season 4 is way better. There's a real. It's so worth your time. It is really so worth your time.
Like Lord Thoth in the live chat, I loved season 1. I started watching season 2, and it seemed I didn't see any wokeness. I think I got 3 episodes in, and it just didn't seem to have the same. It didn't seem as compelling for one reason or another. So, but that was, I had a lot going on in my life at the time, so maybe I ought to go back to it just in the manner that you described.
It's really season 2 is the weakest season, but it's really worth it to get to season 3 and 4, which are just phenomenal. Okay. They are absolutely phenomenal TV. It's some of the best TV made in the last 10 years. It's tragic they didn't make a 5th season, which would have
because a certain person did a very bad thing and tanked the show, and they knew they couldn't sell it because they have the devil in their show.
What she do?
Basically, Google Evan Rachel Wood lies made against Marilyn Manson. It makes the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation.
Oh, I remember now.
Well, she does strike me as being a strange person. I will
agree. She is an awful person. I can't stand her.
Matthew Pound doesn't like Tandy Newton. She was freaking.
Oh yeah, she's full of herself, but not evil.
She can act. Okay,
yeah.
She is one of the best things in that show. Tandy Newton.
She's also drop dead gorgeous as well. That girl, woman.
She's naked for most of the first season. So
I noticed. I twigged that. Believe me.
But honestly, she's just a fantastic character. Like I was very invested in that character. It's a great. It really is.
Tandy Newton was the best thing in the second Mission Impossible movie.
Well, yeah, there wasn't many other good things in that.
Yeah, I fancied her for like 30 years. I can't remember where
well, Dan, you do get to see many different parts of her in that Westworld.
You see so much of her; it's almost embarrassing. But yet,
well,
yeah,
we have to. Anyway, Dan, my crackers, they are the cream. It's time to head off into the sunset, everybody. Thank you so much,
Rabbi.
Hey, toodle pip, everyone.
See you next time, Rabbi. Thank you.
All right, before we leave Westworld, I got to say that, and I don't know, Chris, maybe you'll agree with me. Michael Crichton, mostly known for writing. The movies that he wrote, I would think the science fiction, if it's a science fiction movie and Michael Crichton's involved, it was generally always good. I mean, he wrote the story for the original Andromeda Strain, but he directed and wrote Westworld, what we're looking at here. And then later on, he did Looker, one of my kind of guilty pleasures from the 80s. And then he did Runaway with Tom Selleck. So if Michael Crichton did sci-fi, anything sci-fi from Michael Crichton in the 70s and 80s is always a good bet.
Yeah, and as nonfiction, for those of you who remember ER, that was Michael Crichton's series, the medical drama, which I think is one of the best shows ever made. That was Michael Crichton, which is why I keep saying if you've never seen ER, especially those early seasons, you need to watch it. It is some of the most intense shit you will ever watch. He was Michael, and he passed away. God, it's been like I think 2009.
Yeah, he's very young. He's very young.
Yeah.
He's been
Lots
gone
of
for
people-
years now. Jurassic
Lots of
Park
people
and-
recommend ER to me. Generally speaking, there's hospital dramas just don't do it for me, but I probably ought to go back and watch that. I
This
think
one's
I'd enjoy
different,
it.
Dan. This one, what makes ER, especially in the early seasons, is it's one of the only shows I've seen that actually puts you on the edge of your seat. It's brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, but it is so intense. And it actually, even though the cast changes over completely a couple times throughout its run, it maintains that intensity. And actually, the reason why it ended in 2009 actually was the passing of Michael Crichton. But especially those first 5 seasons, you will get addicted to this show.
So he was fairly hands-on with the show then.
Oh yeah. His role diminished over the years, but the whole creative vision was his. And after he passed away, they ended it. But no, if you have not seen, because people see CR, they think, oh, this is a chick drama. It isn't. Like, it does have, the typical, a lot of the typical drama plot lines. Like, you'll have the occasional romance, but the stuff that goes on in the emergency room, like, it is so intense, it's hard to describe. And even now, like, I have all 15 seasons on DVD, and I go back
15.
to watch it.
Okay,
but yeah,
I'll
the
give
first
that a
5
look.
before George Clooney became a complete asshat, the first 5 were its best from 1994 through 1999.
I'll give that a look. Let's move on and look at another couple. So you've also picked up this classic.
So this is known as one of Steven Seagal's only 4 good movies. This is his best movie. And even though he's credited as being the main actor to satisfy his ego, which was out of control by this point, he's only a part of this movie. What makes this movie is Gary Busey, who is completely nuts in drag, and Tommy Lee Jones, who is completely coked out of his head throughout the entire thing. This movie is a riot, and it's 1992. It's 90s. It has every trope of 90s action. It is awesome. And Steven Seagal is an asshat, but this was his best movie. And it's great because he's not even really, it's an ensemble cast. So I've always kind of laughed where it's like.
Is this the one where the girl from Baywatch jumps out of a cave?
I was going to say, Dan, that's the only scene I remember from this movie is when Erica Eleniak pops out of the cave.
It does have boobies. That scene is in this.
Now, I remember, I cannot stand Steven Seagal.
Oh, he's a dick.
I tried and tried with his films like Nico, all these films that people told me were good. I didn't like any of them, but I enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. And not just because of Erica Eleniak. I remember it had a momentum to it. It was just a fun watch. And I remember it being larger than life.
Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey make this movie. Steven Seagal, it succeeds in spite of Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
I think once John Woo started making films like, American films like Broken Arrow and Face Off and all that kind of thing, I think he kind of powered away from this kind of film and made movies like this, which were perfectly serviceable and actually quite theatrical. I think he made them look lesser for it, and so I think I forget how good films like this were, even though it was a little old-fashioned. It was still a bit of a hangover from Commando and the Predator and all that stuff like the John McTiernan and obviously Die Hard is a major influence on.
I was going to say this is kind of like, I don't want to shortchange this by calling it Die Hard on a ship, but there is a lot of elements to that. It's probably the best.
That's how it was That's how it was marketed at the time. To be fair, Gary.
And everybody hated Steven Seagal, which is kind of funny. And even now in interviews, they will tiptoe around the fact that he was an asshat. Yeah.
I wonder, Chris, since you apparently Steven Seagal is not your favorite person.
Yeah, he's nobody.
I actually, probably one of my favorite movies, maybe my favorite movie with him in it, maybe because they kill him off like 20 minutes into it, is Executive Decision.
Well, that's
Kurt Russell.
I love it for that. He was supposed to be the co-star. He was supposed to be the star of that movie. And Kurt Russell said, if you don't get this piece of shit off the set, I'm walking now. So that's why they kill him off.
I didn't know that.
nobody
Oh,
could work
Dan,
with
if
them.
you've not seen Executive Decision, you've got to see it. It's great. That's Die Hard on a plane, basically, but it's fantastic.
Yep, and you get to watch Steven Seagal and his ego get killed at the beginning. But literally, the behind the scenes of that, it's hilarious.
I didn't know that, Chris.
Oh no, Kurt Russell could not fucking stand him, and he said, "I am not working with this douchebag. Either you get rid of him or I'm walking." So, so Mr.
That was a
Assad,
great. I would say Executive Decision, maybe along with this one, probably one of the best action movies of the '90s.
it was. I saw it in the theaters.
You've just sold me on Executive Decision and rewatching Under Siege because I haven't seen this.
Oh,
You
whatever
will
do,
love
no, watch
Executive.
Under
You will
Siege
love
too.
Executive. Oh, Dan, I have another reason to get you to right after the show's over today. Go buy Executive Decision. Halle Berry.
Halle Berry's in it. Oh yeah, fair enough. Halle Berry.
But you also get to watch Steven Seagal die, so that's awesome.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I've seen Under Siege, but not for a really long time. It's one of those that I think I probably last watched it in the 90s. I kind of, when you get a card, you can rent. Well, you could rent 3 tapes for £2 for 3 nights or something like that. So yeah, I'll go back to this and see if I enjoy it. It could be a lot of 90s hokum, maybe. You've also got this on your list as well. Now, I've seen this cover loads over the years, but I've never seen the movie The Visitor. They Know We Are Here, Gary. They Know We Are Here.
I've never seen this, but that is an awesome cover.
I don't know quite how to describe this. This is what happened. This is what would happen if a movie decided to take crack. I'm just going to describe this is you have to watching this is an experience. It is holy shit. It doesn't really make any sense. It is surrealism brought to an entirely new level. And this movie has a reputation, like it is just fucking bonkers. And Arrow actually sold out of this one. The pre-order sold out completely. This is not from their Warner collection. This is from their, usually every month they put out at least one of the types of films that they're known for, and this is one of them.
Okay.
Brilliant transfer, but Acid Trip. This is what happens when acid takes speed laced with coke. And
what is it about, though? I'm intensely curious.
According to Matthew
Nobody
Pounder,
really knows.
According to Matthew Pounder, it's about Space Jesus, and it's brilliantly bonkers.
Well, there is a Space Jesus. Space Jesus is stoned out of his tree. There are different interpretations as to what this could be. My thoughts is everybody was on drugs, and they said, "Let's go make a movie," and this thing is the result. You can't. It's yes. Space Jesus is yeah.
Have you heard of this, Dan?
I've heard of it. I might have seen it. It's kind of like Executive Decision. I might have actually seen that as well, because in the 80s and particularly the 80s, but into the 90s, I rented a shit ton of stuff, including movies. I know that I've seen that I've got no recollection of at all. And when it comes to this brand of movie, funny enough, just like the rabbi, my stepbrother used to work in a video shop, and he would bring back loads of movies like this when I was a tiny kid. And sometimes they'd just be too scary for me. So it's quite possible, because the artwork is familiar. It's quite likely that I have seen it way, way back, but I've just forgotten about whatever went on since.
Have you ever had a movie make you stoned? I don't do any of that stuff anymore. And I thought I was high by the time I finished it.
Wow.
It is an experience.
So this is the kind of thing, obviously, I'm not demeaning it when I say that, like, it's like a Blockbuster. You see like a lot of things like this on Blockbuster stuff, but I never gravitated to it. I got to say that I was curious enough, Chris, to go to the Arrow video site to see their description of it. And it said, this is their description: any attempt to explain the exact plot of The Visitor is an exercise in futility.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. It actually goes on to say that it's kind of like it's like Close Encounters of the Third Kind meets The Exorcist.
And they're the
and
ones
with Space Jesus. So I would recommend this. But like I said, this sold out. This was their, as far as I could tell, I think this was their top selling release that month. I had pre-ordered it, and my order was delayed by 2 weeks because they had to manufacture more. I would recommend this because I cannot describe what the experience of watching this movie was like. So you need to have an experience like I did.
Wow. Okay.
I am going to have to see this movie now, Chris. You've totally sold me on the Visitor after all this time. And finally, there's this one. I wondered if any of you were going to pick this up, because this is a big old chunky box set of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy. This was a big hit title for Arrow. There was so much excitement around it when they announced it, and there were several different choices of artwork, weren't there, to go with this. And I've seen this in the shop, and it's a beautiful piece. Such a nice box set.
Yeah.
You're a big Turtles fan, Chris? Did you grow up with them?
I did. Although this is more nostalgia for me, because I remember when the Ninja Turtles movie came out at the end of March 1990. It was like the biggest thing ever. I saw it twice in the theater. This one, there's in quality, there's a difference between the first movie and the second and third movie, which can't be helped. Arrow rescanned the first movie from the original negative. Looks outstanding. They were limited in terms of what they could do with the second and third because the original negatives have been lost. So it was scanned from an inner positive. Although with what they did, you can tell there's an obvious difference between the two of them. But actually what they did with the inner positive scan in 3 looks a little bit better than 2. It's actually still very impressive. I did not go with the new artwork because I didn't like it. I don't think many people did. I just went with the original. I think you can still get it.
Pardon my naivete, Chris, but how do you lose a negative on a movie like this?
Ask Scream Factory, not specifically with this, but they lost the negative for Sleepaway Camp and a few other movies. My guess was it was probably done at some point during the scanning process, because when you have, I think it may have been when the DVD or when the Blu-ray set came out, because you send the negatives off to be rescanned for your new release, and then somebody loses them, or what happened with what happened with Sleepaway Camp. And it is kind of funny because on the Blu-ray, there's actually a special feature where you can see them physically scanning the negatives that they would lose right after that scanning process.
I mean, I'm trying to picture that. I mean, so you call up the scanning thing, you say, oh yeah, I'm just calling to get an update on how the scanning is going. Oh, sorry, we lost it.
No, Gary, this is how incompetent they were. Not so much the people that did the scanning, but the company itself. Because nobody knew that they had lost the negatives. The studio had given them the negatives, and then they were going to do new scans for the 4K, and everybody's like, well, why is only 2 and 3 coming out on 4K? And they're like, well, apparently Shout Factory lost the negatives 10 years ago and just realized now that they lost the negatives 10 years ago. So these things do happen.
Well, okay.
A couple of months ago, I think it was just after Christmas, I'd seen that this box set had come out, Gary, and I felt the FOMO. You know, when you're aware there's a real buzz about a piece of merchandise or about a particular release. People were so excited for this, for some of the reasons that Chris has been talking about. And because I suppose that kind of generation have come of age now, they've got the disposable income, and this is in line with those sort of boutique releases. And I nearly went for it. I was far too old for the Turtles when it came out. I was the Transformers and He-Man were my time. This was just it was too late for me.
Yeah.
But I did watch. I saw all 3 movies like not long after they came out, and I remember them being of varying quality. But
the third one is not good.
But I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them all to one degree or another. And I thought, well, there's a lot of films from that time now, whereby, you know, when I wasn't, because when these came out, I was trying to be like the more sophisticated teenager type. But there's a lot of films that get re-released now from that time. I think, God, you know, that there's something of that. There's something of the charm there.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't justify spending 50 quid on this box set to find out. But I had already got this on DVD. So I simply put in my DVD, which I hadn't watched. I picked it up at a car boot sale 18 months ago. Put the DVD on. It was upscaled by my 4K player, and so it looked quite good. It looked good enough. Colors popped, a little bit fuzzy, but colors popped, and you know, I really enjoyed it. Just like you said about Westworld, 85 minutes or so, very few characters, few set pieces, the humor. Yeah, of course, it's of its time, and the show. It is a family movie. Nonetheless, really enjoyable film. Having said that, I was also glad that I got the DVD. Once I'd watched it, I thought, okay, I probably won't watch this for another 35 years. I'm good. So I'm good. You know, it's one of, but
every 5 years or so.
Yeah, it's nostalgia.
Yeah. So I'm glad I rewatched it, and I have got the second and third film. So I probably will watch those later in the year with like gaps in between.
Yeah.
But it's just that in this instance, this one, the boutique treatment for this isn't for me. But I love its audience have jumped on it and loved the release so much, because to me this is exactly what physical media is for, what boutique labels are for, and what I love about pop culture broadly speaking. Anyway, it can't all be for me, and that's okay.
Well, this was probably at that point the biggest get that Arrow had gotten. Going from like just a label that releases obscure movies to, with the Warner deal, this was originally a New Line, which obviously is now owned by Warner. But when this came out, their biggest announcement was they actually got, regardless of whether or not you like the final season, I think most people hate it. But probably the biggest thing that Arrow has gotten is 4K of the entire run of Stranger Things, which is coming out this summer, and like actually a really
there's like 4.
Yeah, it's like with books, it's a massive.
I wasn't sure what to include in this show, or how we'd make out for time, and I wondered if somebody would bring this up, because I've only just found out how much this is, what the price tag is on this.
There's different versions.
Yeah, because there's at least 2, possibly 3 versions, and you can spend as much or as little as you want. But I'm tempted to get this. I only saw the first 2 seasons of this show, and I really, really loved it. And then life got in the way, so I'm thinking about buying this. I'll decide which format I get.
I have it pre-ordered through Arrow, and again with Arrow, you can keep it or not keep it. Yeah. But there's 4 different versions of this. I have the 4K Ultimate version, which is on the screen. Yeah. Then there's a Blu-ray version of the same one. Then there's a less expensive, thinner version on both 4K and Blu-ray. So they actually have 4 different releases.
And you know, I think one of the selling points of this is that before this, they'd only released seasons 1 and 2 on. So this is the first time
really cool
ever on physical media anywhere.
Because as pretty as all of this is, and that box in particular, I think, well, it's take up quite a lot of space. So I might go and look into the various options.
Oh no, because, I got a spot for it where I put my really fancy sets. With Stranger Things, because I was the age that these kids were in the first season, so this was like my childhood. I have not watched the final season. I have decided I'm not going to watch the final season. It's kind of like Lost. It's like it's great as long as you ignore the final season, or Game of Thrones is great as long as you ignore the final season. This one, I love specifically the first 2 seasons. To a lesser extent, the 3rd season, just because of the mall thing, was very 80s. It really does start to dip significantly in quality by season 4, and I don't think I don't see myself watching season 5.
The only reason I fell off,
it's worth it for the first 2.
The only reason I fell off it after season 2 is that I cancelled Netflix for a while, so I couldn't watch it. And I mean, I suppose I could have got it via the 7 Seas or whatever. I'd got plenty of other stuff to watch, and you know, in all seriousness, I don't really. I like buying stuff, I like physical media, so I'm not really. I joke about piracy and things like that, but I prefer to buy stuff. And I was hoping this was going to get some sort of big release. And yeah, so I'll watch seasons 1 and 2 again, and then watch the rest. And I'll watch it through to the end, and we'll see.
And
but yeah, it looks
one reason
good.
for getting this, if you're on the wall, I want to support this release, one because it's Arrow, but I would like to see more releases like this from classic shows. And
so
and we're not going to see the floodgates open from Netflix. Stranger Things, in terms of the rights, Netflix only owns the streaming rights. The studio owns the physical media rights. So basically, it's not Netflix that put this out. It was Warner actually owns Stranger Things. The rights issue is with this. It's a Warner show, but streamed exclusively on Netflix. But Netflix does not have any say in physical media releases, so Warner was able to give Stranger Things to Arrow through their deal to put it out. But I would like to see more sets like this.
So the Netflix logo being on this release is probably only there because they are so closely associated with the show that punters might find it strange. That
they're one of like 5 studios involved with this show, but the outside of streaming, the show is owned by Warner Brothers, which will now be owned by Skydance.
Absolutely fascinating stuff, and I'd love to see this sort of begin a line of those shows that have been big on streaming in the last 10 or 12 years that have sort of done their time, and people have probably watched them multiple times. And now they can enter the boutique market with these lavish releases. Before we go, Gary, I know this has sort of dragged on a little bit, but do you want to tell us about some of the things that you've picked up?
I do. I'll blow through the couple of the ones I have, and let me start with, I guess, kind of a bookend to how we started this Arrow video. Whenever a catalog title comes up that I really love, and I think, oh, well, do I get it? Do I not? But then I hear that it's Arrow. That kind of kicks up the excitement level a notch because I know that they're going to do an absolutely phenomenal job. So I'm not a big horror fan. I mean, I'm a very, very selective horror fan. There's a couple of things, but one of the horror things I love, new from Arrow, is the 1979 miniseries Salem's Lot with David Soul, James Mason.
Yeah, I got that.
And to show you how they do it, again, there's the thing, but it comes with, as Chris was extolling, so it comes not only with the original 4-hour TV miniseries, but the edited European and of course, like a ton of extras, as Chris said, like a paragraph of extras with commentaries and new commentaries, archive commentaries like with Toby Hooper and all this stuff. And then you get like the poster, the original poster, and always with these beautiful books full of essays and stuff. Just amazing.
I've got a really old DVD of this, and I haven't seen it in like 25 years.
Yeah,
I got that. It's the 4th time I've watched it. VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. Yeah, actually, I sent. Yeah, maybe I forgot to send the picture.
This is kind of, I would think, like the definitive. Chris talked about definitive. I would think this is fairly definitive.
Yeah, any Arrow 4K is definitive. You will never get better. No, I actually got that and read Sonya. I think I forgot to send Dan the photos.
Oh, and Bonnie Bedelia, of course. Archer
we'll do. I think we'll do another one of these next week,
and then
sort of crack into some more.
Just a couple more that I got. One, just because I realized I didn't have it on Blu-ray, and there's so much of it I hadn't seen. One of my favorite.
I love this show.
Community. I have that in Blu-ray. This got me into Joel McHale's current show, Animal Control, which is also very funny. But again, this has commentary pretty much on every episode from multiple people, which is great. And so very, very funny show.
That's another show, Gary, that I've seen most of it, but I didn't see the fight. Just like Stranger Things, I've seen. No, I haven't seen most of Stranger Things, but I haven't seen the last 2 seasons of Community because I think it didn't change network.
Went to streaming.
Plus, the creator left for a season, and then when he came back, it was on a different. Chris mentioned this a couple weeks back. It was on a different
Yahoo streaming service.
Yeah.
It vanished completely from UK schedules.
The only issue I have with that said it's Mill Creek. I've got the same one.
Yeah, but it's the only thing that's out there, so I figured I'd go ahead and get it.
It's not bad. It's better than average Mill Creek, but there are some minor skipping issues.
So really quickly, then this is out from Sony. What we were just talking about, the final season of Cobra Kai, which I look forward to, and I'll watch the movie that Dan talked about, Legends, after I watch this. My standard, whenever it comes out, the great thing, BBC does few things right these days, but one of the few things is getting the physical media out of their shows almost immediately after the show finishes airing.
Okay.
So I got the current season of Death in Paradise, and I have all the other 14 as well as all the spin-offs.
I was going to say
they released this like I get this within like literally days after the final episode of the season is out. That's how you do it.
Yeah, they banged them out right away. 15 seasons and about 4 of the spin-off Beyond Paradise.
Four of the one spin-off, and then they're filming the 3rd season of the Australian spin-off right now. Oh, the other thing I want to just mention about Arrow Video, the great thing about Arrow is they don't announce things like 6 months in advance. They announce what's coming out and it's out the next month, which is great. You don't have to wait so super long.
I have a habit of forgetting what's coming when. So for example, I intended on ordering Westworld when I saw it listed. And Salem's Lot, forgot about them, and so I've got to go back and get again. Too many things, not enough time.
Yeah, well, one of the things they do, like for example, they throw in the European poster for no real good reason, but it's great. It's fine. Great collateral.
Posters are a good size as well, aren't they? They're not like postcards or A4.
This is on the other side, but they don't need to do stuff like this, but it's great.
No.
So I have one more pre-release and then one more release. My pre-order, which I just felt I was so excited a couple of days ago when this came out, again from Warner's. So as Chris said, it's going to be a great release. First time on 4K. I'll show you the DVD I have of it. I think one of the most underrated fantasy movies ever made, called The 7 Faces of Dr. Lowe.
Oh, you told me about
from 1963 with Tony Randall, Barbara Eden, Arthur O'Connell, and it's from George Powell. And this is an amazing film, one of the best of George Powell's thing. Tony Randall is this, in the Old West, this kind of Chinese guy, or is he?
I've never even heard of this.
And he goes to this town and basically brings his own circus with him, the Circus of Dr. Lowe, with all these. And Tony Randall plays like 7 characters in this movie.
Okay.
And then he kind of exposes the greed and the pettiness of a lot of the people in the town. Not all of them, but there's a newspaper guy who's the good guy, and he's after Barbara Eden. But the effects in this is great. Tony Randall is great. They're doing, I think, a remaster off the original negative. So
what year did you say it came out?
This was in 1963.
Okay, an old film then.
Have you heard of this movie, Chris?
I have never seen it.
Oh, it's you watch this and you go, oh my gosh, this is the worst kind of cultural Wang Chiang thing by having Tony Randall be this character, but very soon you realize he's not that. So you can kind of put your shock aside. But Matthew Pounder, you've got to see this, and it's coming next month. They announced it just this week. It's coming at the end of May. That's how you do it. Announce it, and then boom, it's out. And then the last one is off kind of a boutique title, which I'd never heard of. And the only reason I knew this was coming out was because it came up on my Facebook feed. In the early days of cable, like in the 80s or the kind of mid 80s, this movie was all over cable. I watched this over and over and over and over and over on cable. It's from a company called Synapse Films, and I'd never heard of them. But this is a movie called, from 1980. 2 from 1982, directed by Nick Castle, who went on to do Last Starfighter a couple of years later, a movie called Tag the Assassination Game, starring Robert Carradine, Linda Hamilton, and
I have heard of this.
This guy, Bruce Abbott, who Linda Hamilton then went on to marry after they met in this movie. And basically what it is, in the early 80s, there was a craze on college campuses, immortalized by the mid-80s movie called Gotcha, where you may have seen it, where a lot of the students ran around like killing each other with the rubber guns and everything, and then you eliminate it, and then you get down to be the winner. This movie came first, though, basically. And so Robert Carradine is just the campus newspaper guy. Linda Hamilton is one of the players, and he's doing a story on it mostly because he wants to kind of get close to Linda Hamilton. But Bruce Abbott is a player basically that gets through just an accident that's through sheer dumb luck, gets shot and killed by the schlubby guy's little dart, and which would eliminate him. But that sends him right over the edge, and he actually starts killing the other players to kind of keep going and getting ahead.
This sounds really, really good. I think I'll probably enjoy this.
And it's directed, like I said, by Nick Castle, and the opening titles are very James Bond-esque with the music and the girls and everything. Again, a very lean movie. I think this is 91 minutes. There you go. That's how you do it. I guess an early Nick Castle movie. And this comes with, I think they do audio commentary by Robert Carradine, who tragically died about, a month or two ago. So this might have been with the last thing he did. But so then he starts to realize in his investigations that all these players, why are they missing? And he starts putting it together. So on the night of the big final event, he's actually realized what's happening. So he's got to save her from the guy that nobody realizes is actually going around actually killing these people.
That sounds really fun.
So really good. This was on cable all the time in the US, Dan, in the 80s. So that's why when this came up, I thought, oh, I got to get that. So
well, it's funny. We've got a comment in the live chat here that I wanted to go back to from Mr. Matt, who says the TV movies always get a hard deal on physical media releases. Some are better than big budget films. I would agree with that. Classic films like Runaway Train get released with Eric Roberts.
This was in the theaters for a short while. It was in the theater. It was a theatrical release, just not a long wide one. Yeah. So this was my little. I don't know what you would call it, Chris, when it's like a boutique label, I guess.
Synapse, they're a smaller label. They put out a number of Dario Argento,
and then the inside has like a different cover, but
that looks like original theatrical art.
Yeah, this one's much better. This one, the painted one's much better. So this is fun. Like talk about like a. It's a cult film. It's not a comedy. This may make it look like a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's like a thriller.
We've stoked plenty of appetites here. Salem's Lot has gone down very, very well, Gary. I get the impression there's a lot of people out there like me who haven't seen it for a really long time.
Yes.
And now we have no excuse because it's all out in all these various different versions. Every single time that any of us mention Death in Paradise, wherever we mention it, lots of people start talking about it for one reason or another. A fiercely popular show.
I'm an addict.
And franchise. It's well loved. I've never really seen it, but I keep telling myself that I've got to. Yes, good stuff. Great picks, or lots to talk about, lots to think about. As always, I've made several notes here throughout this show, stuff to check out that I've never heard of or haven't seen for a long time, including this bird who was in Future World, Connie Sellecca. Yeah, Connie Sellecca. So I'm going to Google her afterwards and see what's going on, where everything lines up.
She was in Beyond Westworld. Future World was Peter Fonda, right, Chris?
I don't fancy him. No.
Yeah. I haven't suffered through that one in over a decade.
I'm actually because of this show, I'm actually going to buy Westworld. I wasn't going to.
That's not who and what I'm looking for. As a opening salvo of this sort of newish show. I think this has gone pretty well here. We've talked
Yeah.
a little bit about everything. We've covered quite a lot of ground. As always, there'll be teething problems, but stick with us, everybody. We've got new names in the live chat as well who maybe haven't been on this channel before, see something that could interest them as we grow with this. Then give us, lend us your ear. Give us a couple of hours of your time, and maybe we'll show you something that you've maybe never seen or didn't know was out, or you haven't heard of for a really long time. And we'll take it from there. And get in touch by all means if you're a collector, if you're a content creator, certainly. If you've got a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever, wherever you do it, come and talk to us. Come and share your picks and your recommendations for anything that we may have missed that's on the starting grid right now, or any bugbears, or any titles that are strange omissions from the 21st century that maybe came out on VHS and DVD that have been left out in the cold in the digital age. We'll see if we can find any more about some of that for you, and when it's coming out, so we can add it to our collections. I'm going to go up to HMV and try and find Salem's Lot there and have a perusal around the shelves in the way that I used to back in the day. To try and bring back the Blockbuster days. Look at this guy. I think he was the manager of a Blockbuster. That's his excuse. But yeah, thank you for this, guys. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's gone great. This is something that we've all got in common, the three of us in particular, in that we're fierce, lifelong collectors of various formats. And there are a lot of us out there, I know. People keep asking me, particularly if they come to my home, how many films have you got? Have you? No, actually, no. They now say, have you ever counted all of these? And I look sort of nervously. Well, firstly, why would I? And secondly, well, what would that? Yeah, I know I've got a lot. Tell me something I don't know. Yeah. But people do that when people collect books? I'm not sure that they do. There's something about physical media which equates to hoarding in some way, and it's something that you shouldn't do. I won't have any of that.
No.
Not in a million years. So if you are a physical media enthusiast, then get in touch. By all means, let us know which titles you think we should be picking up, the things that we may have missed this month, and favourite Arrow titles as well, or re-releases, anything else. Who are your favourites of all those other labels as well? Several of them have got mentioned on this show. Shout, for example, Shout Factory Stuff. Formerly your favourite, I know, Chris. Now sort of a score point.
You might as well just put RAP on top. That company's dead. I will give my updated rant. They are awesome. I love Vinegar Syndrome.
The Severin.
They are awesome.
Interesting stuff. And I like 88 films. Now, we mentioned Runaway earlier on, the Michael Crichton movie with Tom Selleck in it. Love that film. Got that on 88 films on Blu-ray. Loads of fun. Absolutely brilliant. And so let us know. Get in touch with us via whichever means you feel could be necessary. So we've got to fly off. Got to fly off now. This is it's a longer show than we thought, but give it a while, and I will be like a well-oiled machine, Gary. A well-oiled machine.
Yes, we'll be properly well-oiled by the time.
So as always, when we do this, I've got several things that I've got next to me which I didn't have a chance to talk about. I imagine that Gary and Chris probably have as well, but I know they have. So make sure you're back here next time, where we'll be giving you round 2. Chris. Thanks again. I'm glad you're feeling better, as I'm sure a lot of our regulars know here on this channel. Chris has been suffering a little with the long COVID. So you may be on the mend. As for Frank, I'm not sure about him. Things were getting pretty dark for Frank.
Yeah, so this is the picture that we got a couple weeks ago. So as you know, long story short, Satan had allied with Frank, but then found out that Frank was behind Starfleet Academy, and Satan was forced to watch Starfleet Academy, and he now uses it to torture people in hell. But he's very angry with Frank because he wasted 6 hours of his life. So he's chasing Frank, and nobody wants to support Frank anymore because Frank sucks. So #fuck Frank. So Satan is still chasing Frank. Although the good thing is, if you remember, our world was supposed to end in January, but it didn't, because all of Satan's attention is now focused on Frank for that show, and also the terrible, disgusting things Frank has done. So we'll keep updated with Frank. Word is he may have almost escaped Satan. He might be in hiding. So we'll see next week where Frank is.
I can hardly wait. Maybe he's in a hole somewhere, working out his next pre-orders.
Yeah.
Or counting his collection, the way that people seem to insist that I do all too frequently. Thank you, everybody who's joined in the live chat there. We've been streaming to YouTube this time, and we'll see where we go. See where we go next time. Guys, thanks for doing this. I hope it's scratched an itch, because we always enjoy doing this, don't we, Gary, when we sort of do the show and tell, as well as dig into some of our sort of pasts with physical media, because we've all got versions of the same story, even though we live in our case, well, and in the rabbi's case, we live in different countries. Even though the rabbi grew up in Britain, he's now somewhere else. So it's good that we can be all over the world and talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about just, building our own individual libraries of what we love, whether it's TV, movies, whatever, and that's always fun.
Everyone's a winner, as I'm fond of saying. The anchorage for as with a lot of my sort of fandoms and habits, it's very much in the 80s. Chris, I see no reason to apologize for that either.
Nope. I apologize for nothing. If you don't like my collection, then you don't have to look at it. I don't care. One of these days I have to count. I think I'm around 5,000 now, maybe above that.
Wow.
One of these days I'll count and everybody will be horrified.
Who's counting? The most important thing is that we make time, I suppose, to watch the stuff. And there's no better time, I suppose, than the weekend. So I've got to work out what I'm going to watch tomorrow. It'll be a bit of a movie day for me tomorrow. What's a good Sunday afternoon film? Let me know in the comments. And thank you, gentlemen. My thanks to the rabbi from another planet. If you don't know where to find him by now, you never will, really. But he does have his own YouTube channel. If you've never heard of him, you can go and find him most days live streaming about all of pop culture, as well as physical media and streaming and whatever else comes to mind. Lots of politics and religion and his sex life, too. It's all over there on the rabbi's channel. So go and check that out. Chris, thank you again. I know you're probably having a bit of downtime from making videos for the time being. Are you enjoying the rest?
Oh no, I put up a video last week.
No, I'm back to probably every 2 weeks or so putting up a video. No, last week I put up my thoughts about Millie Alcock's comments, and there may have been some yelling, and I may not have been entirely supportive of her comments. No, every 2 or 3 weeks I'm going to have a video out. So yes, go to my channel and check out my. Basically, I berate Millie for a good 10 minutes. So if you want to check that out, it's on there. My thoughts for the Supergirl movie are no longer positive. So spoilers, if you want to find out in what way, go to my my channel. So the video is called Supergirl: How to Destroy Your Movie in One Easy Step with Millie Alcock. So there you go.
I'm still really looking forward to that film. I haven't paid too much attention to what the silly actress has said, so I'm ignoring all actors, actresses, and most producers and directors now, and just sort of I'll just go and watch the films that I fancy based on the trailers, like I used to when I was a kid. I never knew what any of the actors felt or thought or said back then. I think the world was a far, far better place.
I won't tell you what she said to ruin it for you, but I'm pretty sure some executives at Warner and Skydance are less than impressed.
Yes.
So that's coming out, I think, about July, isn't it? The Supergirl film. So that and Masters of the Universe are the big ones I'm looking forward to this year. Yeah, it should be good. Should be good. Okay, and Gary, thank you again, mate, for your company.
Of course, I love doing the physical media, and as you well know, Dan, I always love hearing what you've picked up hearing about your various car boot sales. I'm always asking you, Dan, when are you doing another car boot sale? Because you always come up with really, really interesting stuff. So
well, that's where the bulk of this. I think that's where the bulk of this will go, where we can compare and contrast, and we'll pick up on the odd news story as the landscape changes, because it is always changing, and we'll see where we get to when we get there, I suppose. Well, as with anything that's new. So if you're into physical media, you've come to the right place. Let us know in the comments what you think we may have missed and what you've enjoyed, what you'd like to hear more of, or even less of. But yeah, for this week, for this time, thank you for your viewing time. Go and treat yourself to watching something nice, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chad.